The Houston Texans are a terrible, terrible football team. New head coach David Culley is joining the football team. Oh, man. David Culley, in my opinion, got this job because no one wanted it. There were a lot of head coaching availabilities this offseason, and I never once heard David Culley's name mentioned in the running for any other job until suddenly, out of nowhere, hey, this guy I've never heard of, who, by the way, was the passing game coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, a team known for running the football. Out of nowhere, David Culley was hired as a Houston Texans head coach. I'm not trying to throw shade. This is not a guy who is a top candidate in his field. That already concerns me. Now, I have an open mind. He might be a good head coach. We'll find out. The week 1 starting quarterback is Tyrod Taylor. They also did draft Davis Mills, the quarterback from Stanford, in the 3rd round. He could play near the end of the year. But I just want to say I feel really, really bad for Tyrod Taylor. He's had a weird career trajectory where he got replaced by Josh Allen in Buffalo. He got replaced by Baker Mayfield in Cleveland, got replaced by Justin Herbert in LA with the Chargers, and now he gets to start on the worst team in the entire NFL. Like, poor Tyrod Taylor. Like, thank God. I think he's getting paid like $12.5 million, so crocodile tears from me, but I just feel bad because I think he's a guy who is capable of doing even better than his career allowed him to. But he never really got to play quarterback on a good football team that actually wanted him and believed in him. Every time he finally got rolling, like he took the Bills to the playoffs one year, and they still replaced him and benched him. Now, the Texans' plan is very, very unclear. I look at what they're doing at their roster, and I'm like, I don't get it. I understand that former starting quarterback Deshaun Watson is having trouble off the field, but I can't tell, like, what the moves they made this offseason. It feels like the Houston Texans were saying, we're just trying to get through this year, hopefully get the number 1 overall pick and reset next year. Because they lost their 3 top receivers, Will Fuller, Randall Cobb, and Kiki Cutie. And what's weird to me is that they signed so many, like, 1-year contracts. Here's the list of guys they signed for 1-year deals. They signed Phillip Lindsay, running back. They signed Mark Ingram, a running back. They signed David Johnson, another running back, to a 1-year contract. Defensive tackle Malik Collins. Center Justin Britt. Quarterback Tyrod Taylor. Wide receiver Brandon Cooks. Wide receiver Danny Amendola. It goes on and on and on. This is the worst team in football. And instead of getting a bunch of young players to develop in, they got a bunch of 1-year contracts with veterans. What are they trying to achieve here? I don't really understand, but they're just trying to fill out their roster. It doesn't make any sense to me. And if I were a team that was awful, and I knew my quarterback situation is uncertain, I don't know what's going to happen, what I would do is I would tank by get my team devoid of any talent, do not bring veterans in like they did. I would instead have a bunch of really young football players on my team, and I'd say, hey, over the course of an 18-week season, these guys are going to develop, and some of them are going to emerge as guys who we might want to keep in the future and build around, and some of them are going to be terrible, and we'll cut them. But you never, sometimes a 7th-round pick turns into a really good football player. I would have, if I were them, said we're taking as much youth as humanly possible in Houston. We are tanking, because that's what it appears like they're doing anyway, and saying we're just going to be awful, and we're going to evaluate talent and build around the guys that are good enough to keep. Instead, they did this weird plan with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, at least 9 starters on a 1-year contract that are veterans and probably going to retire or move on after this year. I don't know what the strategy is. I really don't get it. Now, I'm curious if Davis Mills, the rookie quarterback, will play at some point this year. I would think so, because if they have a bad year, they're losing game after game after game. You might want to put in a guy like Davis Mills who you want to evaluate him, figure out how good he is. And he might be the future franchise quarterback in Houston. Davis Mills had a really good preseason. A lot of people thought he had first-round talent when he got drafted. And maybe that does explain why they brought in veterans, is maybe Houston says, if we're going to put out a rookie quarterback like Davis Mills, let's at least give him a couple people who know what they're doing. And a veteran guy like Danny Amendola, Brandon Cooks, Phillip Lindsay, like these players have probably a better chance of helping a young quarterback succeed than a bunch of awful guys who are 24 years old and have never really played in the NFL before. So maybe that's the strategy as I think about it out loud. But I want to make this very, very clear. Houston is a terrible football team, and the best chance they have all year to win a game is week 1 against Jacksonville. Because this is a team of veteran players with a coach who, I get it that David Culley is a rookie head coach. He's never coached in the NFL before as a head coach, but he's been in the league for years, so he at least knows the NFL. Urban Meyer is, I would believe, an unprepared rookie head coach who has never coached in the NFL before this year. So I think maybe you can catch Jacksonville off guard a little bit, where you are a veteran team with a coach who knows the NFL against rookie quarterback Trevor Lawrence, rookie head coach Urban Meyer. And I'll tell you what, if you don't beat Jacksonville week 1, if you're Houston, by the next time you play them, week 15 for a second time, the Jaguars are going to be a lot better after 14 weeks of improving. So again, I repeat this, the best opportunity Houston has at winning a game all year is week 1 hosting Jacksonville. I have the Houston Texans going 1-16 this year. It's going to be an awful year. I feel bad for them. I feel bad for all of their quarterbacks. I feel bad for every player there. They're not being set up to win. I even feel bad for their head coach. Like, their head coach got the job because no one else would, not necessarily because he was the most qualified candidate. And that makes me look at him and feel bad. Like, he's going to have a bad year. He may not even know he's going to have a bad year. I would think he does, but it's a mess. And I just feel horrible for the players in Houston who are going to have a really, really bad year.